Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
Good morning and welcome back. This is Jay Moore, the healthy accountant, helping you account for your life. And today, here's what we're talking about: naked and afraid. But why would you be afraid when you have this? Today, we're going to look at a concept that I believe could change the experience of just about any person who's really looking to set themselves apart and just kind of know more about what's special about them. So today we're going to just kind of dive into a concept that I think that could potentially help, many of us, transform and become. So I have a question. Who are you? Who are you? Where'd you come from? Why are you here? All that. Like, who are you really? So I picked up the Bible this morning and flipped open, and I was in a very famous chapter, famous book in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And if you're familiar with this story, it's the story of David and Goliath. Opened the Bible, I saw it. And I actually went to some other scriptures and came back to it and started to read, chapter 17 of 1 Samuel, because it's just a great story, right? The story of, a little guy beating up a big guy, and, as I read the story, I just remembered some things that I had heard about the story, which is, the fact that David, when he kind of heard what was going on, I'm not going to read the story because it's a lot of verses. So you should go back, read the account, chapter 17. It probably starts early. It's not from the very beginning, but just read the whole chapter. So David shows up to bring some food to his brothers, and he's bringing the food to his brothers, and there's a war. So for those of you who don't know, there's a war happening between Israel and the Philistines. And so, David's brothers, he has 3 brothers, and they're all in the army. Now, David's not in the army. David's been tending to the sheep, because he's a shepherd. He's tending the sheep, but he's been going back and forth between, being with Saul. Saul's the king. And so David was Saul's personal harpist. So, because Saul had some issues, so David would come and play the harp, but he was back and forth between doing that and serving as a shepherd. So he comes, and as he's serving as a shepherd, he comes and he's coming to bring his brother some food. They're kind of salty that he's coming. He's giving the brother some food, but he hears what's happening. Here's all this murmur of something going on. He's like, what's happening? He says, well, he started talking about this Goliath guy, this big guy who's been tormenting them. And then he asked a question that was interesting. I'm gonna get into the naked and afraid in a second. Let's set this up. So they tell David, well, the person that kills this guy is going to get Saul's wife, Saul's daughter. He's going to be free from taxes. He's going to get some money. He's going to be taken care of. And then, happening some more, and they tell him again. And then David asks another time, hey, what is the person going to get if he kills this guy? And so they tell him again, hey, he's going to get paid. He's going to get Saul's daughter. He's also going to be free from taxes. And so then, I'm getting to the naked and afraid. So then he goes, talks to Saul, and Saul is like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. And so David's like, look, I'm going to take this dude out. And Saul is like, you going to take him out? You're just a kid. You're just a kid. And how are you going to be able to do this? Well, so they kind of go back and forth. And then finally he says, all right. Here, take my armor. Put my armor on. So they gird him up. They put all of Saul's armor on David. And David's like, yo, what in the world is going on? Now, in the conversation, the reason why Saul allowed him to do it, he says, look, I have taken out lions and bears with basically my bare hands, with my hands, my slingshot, and I know I can take this dude down. Let me ask a question. So how is it a person, a kid, he's just a shepherd. At least in the story, when you think of a shepherd, you think of somebody that's kind of weak, is not really strong. This person says, I've killed lions and bears, and I'm going to take this guy out. Oh, you're going to take this? Oh, how you going to? And so he knows from within. David knows from within that he has what it takes to do this huge job that everyone's saying, oh, this is Goliath. Oh, my goodness, no one's going to be able to take him down. Everybody's afraid of him. He knows from within. When they put on this armor, he's like, take this stuff off. I'm going to finish that story in a second. Take it off so David's ready to go out. So I'm asking a question. If you showed up into a room, right? If say you was invited out and, when you got there, it says, okay, you just got to take off all your clothes when you get here. Just take them off. Everyone's walking around with no clothes on. You say, what? I ain't going in there. I ain't taking off my clothes. When I developed the title today, and I thought about the show Naked and Afraid, and I said, well, wow, why are we afraid to take our clothes off? See, being afraid to take our clothes off is one of these things that it's kind of like we're afraid to expose who we really are. Like when we take our clothes off, all the imperfections, anything that is covered up is now seen. Which what's interesting is when God gave us a body, what he did was he covered us up. So he covered up the expression, the real expression of who you are. He covered it up, and he put the body on top of you. Last night I was talking to my son Jared and his girlfriend Soraya, and I don't remember what the context was, but this came up like, hey, well, your body is just covering up who you really are. Like it's covering up your essence. It's covering up the thing that God placed inside of you, because what God placed inside of you is so big, it's so powerful. Just like David realized that what God put inside of me through the development that I've gone through, I can take down this thing, this big guy. It's nobody. So I'm saying that, look, we think the hardest thing that we can do is expose ourselves. The hardest thing you can do is expose yourself, take off all your clothes. That's hard. That's going to be hard to do. That's going to feel weird. That's going to feel like I don't want anybody to see those marks there, or oh my goodness, I have a little extra here, or this or that. This is just us. When what we have is something far greater, but no one can see it. But what if people could see exactly who you are? What if we could expose exactly who God created us to be? What if? What if that was possible? So as we can consider this topic, that show that's on Discovery, it's called Naked and Afraid. And, they have a man and a woman, they have to live together in the wild for as long, I can't remember how long they have, but they, a lot of times they don't make it to the end, but they show up naked. So that's the first thing you got to get over. We have to get over the fear of showing people what we look like on the outside. That's the first fear we got to get rid of. What I look like on the outside, hey, this is nothing, because what we're going into is going to be far harder than worrying about whether or not I got some clothes on, right? So that show really it does a really good job at just allowing people to just expose all of themselves, and they have to do it on camera. So when we think about the story of David, and it's David and Goliath, and David had to be willing to expose who he really was. When they tried to cover him up with the with the clothing, right, with the with the armor, it didn't feel right. He was like, he's like, "Man, I can't operate in this. I can't operate in this. This is not gonna help me." He said, "So let me get this off and let me take myself into the battle." Oh, you don't need a sword and spear? No. You don't need a shield? No. You don't need a covering? No, I don't need none of that. All I got is me. I'm gonna take me in there. But here's what David said that I think is the essence of the story. He he talked about, look, it's not me that's going to deliver anybody from this Goliath, but it's the Lord of hosts that's going to deliver Goliath into my hand. Here's where we are today with this naked and afraid. But why would we feel this way when we have our unique ability? When you have and when we expose the uniqueness of who we are, supernatural transformational leader is who I am. Like, that's a part of me. That's not even all of me. See, the thing about exposing your unique ability is that when you expose this unique ability, here's what I'm going to say is going to be a cautionary term. You don't. It's kind of like me. Oh, I'm the healthy accountant, but here's the thing: I'm in an elevation period right now. I'm going from the healthy accountant to supernatural transformational leader. And what I'm saying is that once I'm getting a glimpse of what's actually on the inside. Now you can't see it. Like you can't see the full essence of me, but all I can, it's almost like I'm transparent. Right now, I'm transparent. Like because I have the virtual background and I have a white shirt on, like I keep going in and out of this, this thing, right? Because what's on the inside of me it's like translucent, it's transparent, and so you kind of keep changing forms. See, I would almost believe that if God got rid of the physical body and all we saw is our essence, it would be like translucent, just kind of like be like, oh, he looks like this, oh, he looks like that. That day, David was like, I know who I am, and he says, man, this is me. And what's going to be even better is the fact that the king gonna pay me. The king gonna give me his daughter so I can have a wife, and the king gonna exempt me from taxes. So David was motivated. He was motivated. Remember, if you read the account, he asked twice what a person was going to get because that was important. He says, look, I ain't doing this for free. He said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to just use my unique ability for free. So as long as I know that's coming, I'll go ahead and expose myself. So he goes out. You know the story. He goes out and he does what he has to do with his unique ability. He takes down the giant with himself. All he used was what his ability produced. And what his ability produced, his ability to take a rock in a slingshot and sling it. That was his ability. That was unique. Nobody else could do that. No one else attempted it. There's no more stories in the Bible about somebody using a slingshot in a rock to take down something big. No, there's nothing like that. David's the only one. Why is that? God wanted to show you and me that unique ability is the one thing that we all have, and that no one else can do what you can do, and no one else can have exactly what the way that you're going to have it. No one else can show up in the marketplace and perform like you. This is what God is telling. Look, I'd never seen that in the story. I'd never heard anybody talk about his unique ability in this way. Why did I see it? Oh, that's interesting. God gives us all something amazing, and it activates. Our amazing activates because of the things that we use to make it grow. I'm going to say that again. God gives us our amazing, and what he does is it activates by the things that we do to make it grow. So if we're not constantly evolving, I came into something recently, and I'll probably share more of this as the year continues. But I came into something recently that literally almost is like a key. When you find your key, in the Bible, and I'm about to finish here. In the Bible, I think in Matthew 18:16 or 18:16-19 or something like that, Jesus tells the disciples, so he makes a declaration to them, and he says, guys, I'm going to give you the secrets of the kingdom of heaven. I'm going to give you the secret keys of the kingdom of heaven. And in these keys, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And if you do that, this is what's going to happen. See, when a key shows up, what happens is when you stick a key, it's kind of like when you come to your house or you go to your car and you stick the key in. That's the only key that will start that vehicle. That's the only key that's going to open that lock. And so when God gives us a key, that particular key is the only key for the thing that you are unlocking inside of yourself. I know, right? This like this podcast evolves every single day. Like every day, God uses me to turn a key. I'm turning the key. And most days I'm like, well, where's this coming from? He says, well, there's no end. And in my transformation book that's coming out very soon, you are infinite is what the premise of the book is. You are infinite. What does that mean? You will never stop evolving. You will always be moving to become more. When God shared the concept with me about writing it, I said, you want me to write that? He says, yeah. He says, man, that's in you. He says, just take it out of you. Just take it out. He said, it's in you. Just take it out. And so I remember the day I was like, but I don't know what to say. And man, I don't know where to start. He says, and the day that he originally brought the idea to me, I went for a walk. I had a book in my hand because I felt a calling from the book. And I went for this walk. I took the book with me and I walked in my neighborhood, probably like a mile and a half or about a 2-mile walk. And I'm walking with this book. I'm like, Lord, I know this book is saying something. What is the book saying? And by the time I came back, he says, you will write a book. You will write a book. And it's going to up level people. It's going to help people. See, what God has hidden inside of each and every one of us is a uniqueness that produces your uniqueness. And it happens simply and it happens easily. So what are we going to take away today? Look, there's no point in being afraid. There's no point in allowing yourself to feel like, well, if I expose myself, then people are going to talk about me. When I expose myself, people are not going to understand me. When I expose myself, people are going to see my blemishes. When I expose myself, I'm not sure if I even like me because I'm wondering if I'm good enough. Well, today, the premise of this is that you have a uniqueness. And in that uniqueness, God is calling that uniqueness out of you. God is calling that uniqueness to get exposed. And it doesn't matter what people see or say. All that matters is that when you expose yourself, just like David, when David exposed himself and when David realized that he was built for that moment, he says, God himself is going to deliver this giant into my hands. This is the thing that we can say. God will deliver into my hands the Goliath that's in my life. Because that story of David and Goliath, how many millions of times have it been told? How many countless ways has it been told? And how many people's lives has it changed? That means that your uniqueness is a way to change not just your life, but to change people's lives, to help people. So guys, transform yourself. Transform yourself right now. say to yourself, this is me. This is who I am. This is who God created me to be, to do, and this is where God has taken me. So guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. This is Jay Moore, the supernatural transformational leader, here to help myself and you get to the levels that I know that God's calling you. So God bless you, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.